of the best practices that have kept us safe and have kept our clients safe. And this is not just all my knowledge. I've consulted with some of the best security experts in the world, and they have confirmed the vulnerabilities. And I just want to make sure, because you did say you have the ledger, correct?
Yes, I do have the I have the S and the X. Yes, ledger.
Okay, good. So I'm going to talk about security, and it is good for you to use that, but I just want you to know that having that alone is not security. All right. None of my clients use it, and I'll talk to you about that as we go through this exercise, just so you're aware of what is out there. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. So the focus of what we're going to be talking about is how to create your own secure private bank with Bitcoin. I'm giving you a sneak peek of something that I'm actually going to publish this summer. So, certainly I will look forward to your feedback. And when I do publish it, I will share that with you as well.
Thank you.
So disclaimer, what I'm going over here, of course, is not going to be financial advice. Just to protect myself, I have to put this statement out there. But, as I am going to be presenting facts, and I will back them up so you can, count on them. Here's an overview of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to review Bitcoin, its function, key attributes, overview of blockchain security. And we'll be discussing, and I'll be demonstrating the most secure configuration and talking about different, vulnerabilities and weaknesses. We'll be exploring some scams and potential issues. And I will show you how to set up an environment. And again, I'm just going to provide the overview, but I'm happy to help you do it just so you understand what the folks who are really doing this. And I'm talking about banks. This is how banks secure their Bitcoin, right? They set up similar type of environments like what I'm going to share with you. Of course, they'll have money to pay to develop even more secure protocols, but using some of the best practices that are available around the world. What I'm sharing with you is even a standard that's coming out of some of the best universities as well. So it's validated. It's definitely secure. All right. So going into some of the milestones, and I'm sure you've heard some of the history, but I'm just going to run through it. This has been started since out of the ashes of the banking crisis of 2007 to 2010. In 2009, Bitcoin was launched. Only 21 million Bitcoins will exist to be mined, bought, or traded. All right. That means that there's a limit. And if it's a limit, it means it's going to be very valuable. And that's why I'm emphasizing that. A $100 early investment would be worth over 10 million US today. It took 4 years for it just to reach 1,000. And when it comes to those 21 million, only 85% are available to purchase. Over the next 20 years or so, the rest of them will be produced, and then it will just be, what is left for people to actually acquire. Some of the key characteristics of Bitcoin are it's fungible, meaning one unit is identical to another. What I'm doing is just proving that it's solid. I've been arguing all weekend with top of the world's economists who are arguing that it's not a form of money, and it is a form of money, but I would rather promote the fact that it's an asset and you should hold it and try not to spend it and protect it as best you can. It's divisible. It can be divided into smaller units. It's acceptable. It's widely accepted as a medium of exchange. Maybe not at your common grocery store, but that is going to change as things become more digital. There's a limited supply. It's uniform, and it's portable. And these characteristics make it valid. All right. It's durable. It can be reused without deterioration, similar to your ATM card, right? So very similar characteristics. When we look at ledgers, there are two different types of ledgers, right? So centralized ledgers are what we're used to every day, similar to a credit card that has Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, etc. Diners Club. They're centralized payment systems, meaning to see, I went to the store yesterday, and I have two credit cards that look very similar. Both are silver. And when I swiped one, I had a smaller amount and I couldn't put forward the purchase. All of the money that I was expecting was on the other card. But it was a centralized ledger that was managing, where how that was managed. What we're talking about is decentralized ledgers in terms of this whole blockchain. And in decentralized, it means nobody is the bank. You are the private bank. So when it comes to security, I want you to understand you are the biggest risk of security. All right. And I have to emphasize that you are the biggest risk of security. It's not the technology. The blockchain ledger is bulletproof. It's built on some of the world's top encryption and cryptography. And all of that allows the ledger to be secure. Now, let me move into some security concerns. Oh, 1 second. All right. So when we're thinking about security, just like this image of a vault, I have clients that used to carry their wealth in gold, right? And this was something that they had to do. They had to, lock things up in a vault. Before we get into the best practices, I just want to kind of reinforce some of the things that are security concerns when you're dealing with Bitcoin. The top one that's I should have numbered these, but this, you can follow me. So the endpoints, meaning as I was saying in the last slide, you are at the endpoint, meaning you hold it, you're holding it now on a ledger, you received it potentially on a hot wallet. And when it came on a hot wallet, then you transfer it to your ledger as a way of capturing your private keys. I want you to understand the ledger is only capturing those private keys, those seed words, all right? My clients prefer to inscribe those on a durable piece of metal, and they lock it in a vault. So they use no technology, all right? So it's almost like a paper wallet, but it's inscribed in metal. And so hot wallets are certainly vulnerabilities. Third-party vendors, all right, are vulnerabilities, and I'll expose one to you that is a concern, and I just want to expose it to you. Scalability, as things continue to build, the large-scale blockchains are certainly untested, and as things get bigger and bigger, it's going to be interesting to see how things scale. And of course, regulation is a concern, and the need for further testing of the blockchain. Everyone knows, we're in new territory, no matter what. This is what I want you to pay attention to. The technology that you have, the ledger, is holding your private keys, but the weakness is not the ledger. The weakness is the fact that the company is your weakness, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with this, but ledger owners, their records were leaked. And this happened, and it will continue to happen. And this is actually someone who was affected by that leak. So they actually had someone's home address, all right, and knew that they were a ledger owner, all right? So I just want you to understand what I'm talking about is completely off the grid. No one would ever be able to know where you are, who you are. And my clients, I serve not only private equity, but in Asia and Hong Kong and Japan, I serve the royal families, 3 different royal families. And this kind of security breach would not be tolerated. All right, just so you're aware. All right. Were you aware of this? You can take off your mic.
No, I wasn't aware.
Okay.
Hilton.
Yes. So I just want you to understand the security that I'm talking about, especially when we're talking about you being your own private bank, is you being completely off the grid. And as you know, when it comes to security and security breaches, it's certainly the endpoint. It's going to be the companies you deal with that, are going to be concerned. So you think about this. All right. And again, I'm a Bitcoin 1%er, meaning, I'm in the top 1% of those who hold Bitcoin, which is a beautiful thing for my family and my legacy, my grandkids. What I'm sharing with you is that if I'm out there publicizing who I am, and people actually can go and find my home address, this is not a good thing, right? And as this thing gets more valuable, and as Bitcoin goes to a million, I believe Bitcoin is going to go beyond 1 million, all right, per Bitcoin, all right? As it does that climb, there are going to be people out there going after Bitcoins. So I just want you to be aware and protect yourself the best way you can. Also, any kind of scams, watch out. If people are sending you messages, emails, telling you to pay with Bitcoin, it's certainly a scam. In America, we have a place to report it. And I'm sure there's a place to report these kind of scams in the UK as well. Also, different funds. We always recommend going to the major exchanges to buy any of this. Why? Because there are funds that are complete frauds. And as you can see, this is recent news. Someone set up a fund and it was a complete fraud to the tune of 100 million, which is crazy. And, this is a 24-year-old guy managing, $100 million hedge fund. It was bad. And then looking at other common scams, when they're sending emails, that's one type of scam. Getting you to buy into companies that are going to fail, like a pump and dump scheme, or this whole promise of cloud mining. Cloud mining is not something that is investable. All right, it takes so much power to actually mine Bitcoin that for them to try to give out lots of profit is just not believable. And then there's a whole nother level right now, even because I'm out talking about these stuff. People reach out to me all the time talking about, if you give me 500, next week you have 1,500. None of that fast money stuff works. So that, why? Because in the end, someone is going to be left without their money, right? So watch out for anything like that. So now what I want to do is get into a demonstration of tails so that you can actually see how this works. Do you have any questions at this time?
No, go ahead. No, that's fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, not that. 1 second. There we go. All right. Can you see on the screen something that says tails?
I can see tails. Yes, tails in the computer.
Okay.
It's portable.
Okay, perfect. All right, so here's what tails is, just so you understand. And again, you're setting up your own private bank. It's unlike, you going to, Chase or any of the world banks and, setting up a bank account. When you set up tails, what this is a completely isolated environment. I recommend when you do, work with Bitcoin that you don't trust anything. You don't trust your phone. You don't trust your computer. A lot of people, it's well known that Apple products are more secure than the Android phones. That's well documented. But most recently, did you hear about Khashoggi, the journalist that got murdered in Saudi Arabia?
No, I didn't hear that. No.
Yes. So Khashoggi was a journalist that, and I'll just pull it up real quick. And what I'm looking up is Pegasus and so. Right. So there is an Israeli company that created spyware that allows people to, can you see my screen right now?
I can see the screen, but it's still on Tails. It says Tails is a
It's still on
portable.
Tails. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. Stand by. I will get you with me. Yeah, it's sharing specific tabs, which is fine. Okay. Now, what this is a particular. This was spies, Saudi spies, who killed a journalist named Khashoggi, and it was an Israel software. This software hacked his iPhone, and they followed him into a consulate, and they murdered him in the consulate. It was that horrendous, you know, that this happened. And I'm saying that to you just, you know, not to scare you. And I apologize if, you know, what I'm sharing is so extreme. But I want you to understand not to trust your phone, not to trust the computer that you work with on a normal basis. Those things should be used for your everyday, you know, goings and comings. But when it comes to Bitcoin, you should deal with it in a completely secure environment. Tails is that secure environment. All right. And I'll walk you through why. All right. So this is a platform used to avoid censorship. It secures your computer. It's a security box. It's free. The current version is version 4.17. Who uses it? Activists, journalists, domestic violence survivors, and anyone who wants extra security. And a popular user is Edward Snowden, the American whistleblower, right? And this software is something that is, you know, it's so powerful that it isolates communication. So once and it comes with a Bitcoin wallet that can be managed directly to the blockchain. So, and you can use your ledger with this as well. Because again, your ledger is just storing your private keys. Remember, your Bitcoin is still on the blockchain. Your Bitcoin is not on the ledger, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay, good. So you can lose the ledger and still have your Bitcoin. And the same thing works here. It just allows you to leverage a very secure environment to operate. So I'll just kind of walk through this just so you can see what it is. So to begin, and just to mention, because again, remember, it's the last mile that is always, or the endpoints that are the concern. So the main concern when it comes to installing this is making sure you have the right website, right? So, and I'll talk about the need to make sure you verify things and so on. So you want to make sure you come to a website that's HTTPS, which is a secure website. You want to make sure that it's tails.boum.org. So this is the secure place for this. After this presentation, I'll share with you a copy of the video so that you can have it to refer to if you're interested. All right. So which operating system are you going to install Tails from? Which one do you have, Windows, Mac, or Linux?
Mac.
Oh, excellent. All right. So it's saying that there is a concern. Do you have a MacBook Pro?
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. So what you might have to do to install it, you might need an external keyboard, because what you're going to begin is you're going to buy a USB thumb drive. All right. And that's how you begin the process. You get the thumb drive, but I've already helped many Mac users, including my business partners, install. Essentially, what you're doing is you're using your computer just to build this onto the thumb drive, so that when you use the thumb drive, you start your computer, it will start into a completely safe environment that you can manage your Bitcoin. And then when you're done, you turn that off, meaning it's not going to be, just open to the internet. It's actually going through a very private VPN portal called Tor. Tor is one of the pieces of the Tails operating system. So in order to install it, it says you need one USB stick. It says 8 gig. I recommend 32 gig. The download takes some time. So there you go, install. It's going to take some time, an hour and a half in total. Then what you want to do is you're going to have that one MacBook Pro, and then hopefully you have a cell phone or a tablet where you can follow along with this instructions. As you can tell, this website has very good instructions. And what you're going to do is download it to the computer, not to the thumb drive. And then the process is you're going to use another piece of software to install it from your computer to your thumb drive. All right. You restart it, and then we walk through the configuration, and I'll talk with you about that. And then when you're comfortable with the process, you hit let's go. And then you literally are doing this. All right. And I'm not doing it live because I'm not with you there, but I'm just showing you, especially as the value of Bitcoin continues to go up, I recommend you consider yourself a private bank. And as you know, in America, banks are allowed to do custodial care. Are banks in the UK able to do custodial care?
I'm not too sure about. Possibly, I can't see why not.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I know that my business partner, and I'll just pause here and show you something that works for my clients and myself. We use a service called Nexo.io, and the reason I mention it is, as things get more expensive, you're going to want to make sure that you guard it. And so if you go to Nexo.io, give it a second. This is a place that you can hold your Bitcoin, and they will manage your private bank. So what I'm showing you is something you can do yourself, but I do this for my clients, and I do have a private bank that I manage. But my personal family crypto, just in case something should happen to me, is kept at this custodian called Nexo, and they are in the UK. They are regulated by the UK, and I don't work for them or anything like that. I just use their services, and they are awesome. They are certainly 5-star in my opinion. And they are doing what I would consider a very good job of providing services and allowing and recognizing that people really need this type of help, right? So they're managing $12 billion of assets in Bitcoin, and they're growing. So that's an option as the price continues to go up, because you don't necessarily want to be managing millions of dollars of Bitcoin on your own. It could get a little stressful. So,
yeah. Can I ask a question then? How did you discover them? How did you discover?
Because I am in the space, I have tried many of them. Why? And they're all not created equally. I'm working right now to try one in California with my IRA. It allows me to invest my retirement account in Bitcoin, which is interesting. So I want to try their services. I don't recommend things that I don't try myself. So I'll do my due diligence and then I'll try. And I've been working with them now for a year. And, as you know, a year ago, it was terrible. It was a terrible financial year. There was even a Bitcoin crash to $3,000. Did you know that?
No, block backs. Yes, I have. Yes, it did. Yes, climbed back.
Yes.
Obviously recovered at the end of the year.
Well, no, that was March. March of 2020, it crashed to 3,000. Yeah. And so if this bank could survive through that liquidity crisis, there's nothing that can stop them. They did a good job. They don't delay holding my crypto. So as far as my Bitcoin, if I have an emergency, I can download fiat, and it's not a taxable event in America. When you borrow against your crypto assets, I could download 50,000 US if I wanted to, buy a car if I needed to, and then pay it back to myself, but not sell my Bitcoin. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, leverage.
It's leverage, similar to what you would do with your home. If you had an asset like a home and you wanted to do something, you can leverage your home. I've owned this house for 20 something years. If I needed to leverage it, I can leverage that asset as well. But I just want to show you this so that you could have this in your back pocket. So you would download it. It takes a half hour to download. And then after it's downloaded, you click verify. And after you click verify, it's going to point you to the place you just downloaded that first file. You select it, and then it's going to make sure that what you downloaded is good. And then it will go through a process and it will say that it's downloaded. And then essentially what you're going to do, you're going to download a piece of software to your Mac OS called Etcher. Etcher is going to do what is considered flashing or installing the Tails operating system to the USB drive. All right. So it's not really complicated. Everything I'm describing, I'm walking you through this because you only have to do it once. Then once it's set up, it boots, it works really well. All right. You could download it to a USB or a DVD. DVD is actually, believe it or not, more secure, but a little harder to work. I'll tell you why, because it doesn't save anything. So since it's not saving anything, when you go in there, it's a clean operating system. It's super secure, but you gotta enter your private keys in order to connect to your Bitcoin. It just requires a little bit more setup. If you install it on the thumb drive, I'm going to show you how to encrypt the thumb drive, and you'll have secure passwords, so it's very secure. Just like you're using with your ledger, the same level of security, and of course, I recommend documenting your private keys on paper if possible. All right. Now that you downloaded Etcher, you're going to go through, install it, and it's going to start up an application that looks like this. You're going to click select image. When you hit select image, it's going to look for that 1.2 gig Tails file that you downloaded, and then you're going to select your thumb drive. Now, this is the part that I am just going to reiterate is very, very important. You don't want to select the wrong drive. So when you plug in that USB drive, you need to see which of the drives it pops up. And I'm sure you've used USB drives before. So it's not a difficult task, but my warning here is this is a critical step in that process. You don't want to select the wrong drive. Select the USB drive. And then when you hit flash, what's going to happen is it's going to install Linux OS, the operating system of Linux, onto that USB drive. And I'm so excited about using Linux because Linux is very difficult for anyone to try and exploit. Why? Because it was built right, and it's open source. There's so many different versions of Linux, and you find that corporations that use Linux in their background to do what they need to do are more secure. The Microsoft applications are less secure. Apple is probably I would say next more secure than Microsoft, and Linux is more secure than Apple. Just so you're aware of what we're doing here. All right. So then once you're done with that, all right, then what you're going to do is start to your USB drive. And in order to start, you have to hold your Option key. All right. Or it's called the Alt key. Put in the USB drive, and then it's going to give you this choice. It's going to say, choose the USB stick, and then you're going to start it. All right. And of course, you're going to enter your Mac password. There's a lot of descriptions here in terms of, you can certainly read through some of the detail there just to show you what you're doing. And then this is what a Linux environment looks like. This is, believe it or not, the background of some of the most secure systems in the world. Banking systems all look like this. Why? Because they do one thing. They're very secure. And then after you boot, this is how the welcome screen will look. Welcome to Tails. All right. And at this point, you don't want to click Start Tails. You want to start by, let's start to set up the password. You're going to hit the plus sign at the bottom, and it's going to give you an option to set up the password. You set the password. All right. And then you can go ahead and start Tails. And Tails looks like a plain operating system. It looks pretty clean. All right. The first thing you do after you get into the operating system is you're going to go to the top right-hand corner. You see an arrow in the right-hand corner. The arrow in the right-hand corner allows you to set and connect to your Wi-Fi. Now, remember what I said about the threat to your private bank. Anytime you connect to your things in your house, and this is a question that I'm going to ask you right now before I continue. Have you ever had a situation where what kind of internet, first of all, do you have in your house? Do you have cable or do you have fiber optic?
Fiber optic.
Ah, you are very advanced. All right. I also have fiber optic through Verizon is my carrier, and fiber optic is much better, much faster. Now, when it comes to the connection in your house, have you ever had an opportunity where your router has failed on you and you had to replace it?
No, it's not failed. We've had problems initially when the speed wasn't as quick, but they put that right, but it's never failed.
Okay. So just so you understand, and if you're using the commercial router that was provided by the fiber optic provider, you're in good shape. What I'm sharing with you is an anomaly that's happening common across the world because common routers, home routers, cannot stand up to all of the attacks that are happening around the world. So oftentimes they will fail. So what fiber optic and cable providers are doing are putting better hardware in place. So I'm happy to hear that you have good environment, because once you connect to your Wi-Fi, it's only as good as the security that you're connected to, and it sounds like you're going to be really good. So go ahead and connect to your Wi-Fi network. And then after you're connected to the Wi-Fi network, it will go through and validate that your connection is proper, and it's giving you some other options if it doesn't see your Wi-Fi connection. And I'm happy to to help if if it gets any more complicated than that. The other thing that you want to do, all right, so you click the top right-hand arrow to get to your Wi-Fi. It kind of looks like Mac in a way, an older version of Mac. The left-hand side, when you click on applications, the first thing that we want to do is encrypt this USB thumb drive. So when you click on applications, over to the right, it will say configure persistent volume. And you'll see that mentioned here in the instructions. The configuring a persistent volume is a best practice, because what it does is this is going to allow you to encrypt the hard drive, so that if you lose this, you're not losing anything. All right, is no different than the ledger, very similar security. And then you're going to use the password. I recommend you use the same password as you use, so that you're not driving yourself crazy, but use a good password. Passwords are the things that can drive us crazy, right? Then now you're going to reboot after you do those two things. Set up the network, configure the encrypted volume. Then you're going to reboot. And this is what it looks like when you reboot. And again, this is completely free. It's super secure. This is bank level encryption. All right. And then now it's going to ask you to unlock your encrypted drive. So you do that first. You enter your password. You click unlock. Then you start Tails. All right. And then after that, you are good to go. And now you certainly can make a backup of that. That's certainly best practice. But tell me what your thoughts are at this point after understanding what Tails is and understanding basic security.
Yeah, thank you very much, Houghton, for all of that information. So what you're saying is that you've been using Tails for over a year, and in terms of actually, the crisis on 21st of March last year, in terms of the support, that's what I was going to ask about, customer service and things like that. They seem to have had your back for you, because a lot of companies bailed out when there's a crisis, because when there's a bull run, everybody's happy. But when there's a bear, that's when you start seeing things not working in your favor, because everyone's running for the bear. So it's good to hear that from you. The other thing you had said, the only thing I have problems is that all my applications are Mac, and I have problems. So when I'm trading Forex, in terms of actually, because the iOS changes so quickly that it doesn't run smoothly as it says on the tin. So I can see from your slides, when you've done your presentation, I think it's the 31st of December 2020. I think we've updated the software thereafter. So I would have to diligently go through with that, because it's nothing. I've never set anything up first time on the Mac, and it's gone like boom, 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 boom. It literally come up stumbling blocks. However, I'm sure that's all in hand with the Mac. So thanks for that. So I understand that. And the software, how long has the software been around itself? How long?
Tails operating system has been around for quite a few years. I would say 2014, 2015. Let me double check that. I'm not going to make it up, but I know it's been around quite a bit. 1 second. Yeah, I believe it was 2014. Hold on, Tails OS. And Oh, even longer, 12 years. And this is a product of MIT Labs. So it's a very, very secure product. And just to clarify, you mentioned something, and I didn't mean to confuse the point, but I just want to make sure it's clear. It's Nexo.io that I've been working with for the past year, holding, a part of my Bitcoin holding, and this is my strategy. So let me just be clear on my strategy. No matter how much you have, I don't care if it's fiat currency or Bitcoin, you want to diversify where you put it. I don't recommend putting any more than $1 million on each drive. When you create a wallet, if it gets up to $1 million, create another one, divide it. And that's my strategy. So I have dozens of wallets. I have, different holdings, and I'm doing that just to manage risk, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does.
So I'm not trying to keep it all in one bank or even in my own private bank. I have a good amount in my private storage, but in cold storage, all my clients are all in cold storage. And our goal is always to get them into a custodial care. We don't want the responsibility. Why? Because criminals are getting savvier. And again, my recommendation to you is to think very strategically about this. And, even as you manage your private keys on your ledger, be very careful. And the reason I'm introducing this to you is it just elevates your level of security. Meaning, you were talking about software on your Mac and things like that. It doesn't matter with this. Meaning, this is only when you do Bitcoin management. The Bitcoin wallet in this environment is really bulletproof and solid. So if you wanted to manage a Bitcoin ledger using the Tails OS, this is the way to do it. Once you finish building the Tails OS, it has the Bitcoin wallet built right in. And then so when you're done using it, you shut it down, you plug it out, you store it in your safe. And now when you're ready to do, again, you have your public address. You can set up, the good thing about this is that you can set up multiple public addresses, right? And then you get all those QR codes and you copy all of that, and you have that in your pocket. If you need to send funds, you have places to send funds. So now it's off the grid. You don't have to break out a ledger, but the ledger can copy your keys. It works with Tails. All right, the ledger does work with Tails OS, requires a little extra configuration. If you're interested, reach back out to me and I'm happy to walk you through that. But I just wanted to introduce this to you, and that concludes my presentation, because if you're able to set it up and just keep in touch with me, let me know. And as I said, I'm working on publishing a book around this subject, and it's really focused on the best practices of how our community can build wealth. So the title of the book is Combating Different Things, Different Nonsense that I've heard on Clubhouse. And I share this with you in confidence. The title of the book is Don't Buy Beer with Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm hearing on Clubhouse, believe it or not. I'm hearing all kind of frivolous activities being promoted with Bitcoin. And it shows me that there's a lot of scammers out here really trying to take people for a ride and encourage them to do bad things with their precious Bitcoin. So what I'm sharing with you is, and this is why, I'm connected with the Black Bitcoin UK and many other folks. I'm partnered with a number of very, very high ethical practitioners, as well as my own practice and my own campaign to really make sure that our community understands what this is. This is not a game. This is the building of wealth over the long term. And those who take it seriously are going to be able to hold this precious asset for the long term. I had a meeting with one of my companies. I scheduled a guest speaker to come and talk about, this is a new thing. It's not Bitcoin, but it's very related. It's called NFTs. And, and I'm sure you're hearing about NFTs since you do other trading. NFTs, this artist sold his NFT and someone multiplied the price times 100 and sold it again, right? This artist did not get a piece of that future sale. And this is supposed to be the promise of the NFT. So what I'm sharing with you is that there's a lot of scams happening here where people are selling, themselves short. So, stay safe. And if I can ever help, certainly let me know. But I just wanted to share that much with you, and hopefully that was helpful.
Yes, thank you, Houghton. Yes, it was very helpful because the thing I see with all of this, like NFTs, Bitcoin, I know Bitcoin's been around much longer. I can't see there's any certified places where you can actually go and say, you're right, the ledger, it has been approved by whoever, whatever, there's no corporation that endorses. So it's all on hearsay or on knowledge. And I think we need to be getting to a standard where get some endorsement in, because as I see Bitcoin, it's gold. It's more than gold. It's more than platinum. It's going to be the most expensive commodity on the planet. But there's no endorsements around the certifying what's best, and that's why it's very scary at the moment, because who's holding your keys?
You're absolutely right. You definitely, if you leave this conversation with that kind of caution, then you're in a good place. I want to make sure that that we continue to emphasize that reality, because a lot of people, again, they take this, and as you said, it's all hearsay. Do it this way, do it that way. And a lot of people want to do it easy, right? So that's why they make the mistake and they hold it on their phone. And when they hold it on their phone, oh, that's the worst. Why? Because it's connected, it's live to the internet. And as I share on Tuesday evenings, I have office hours where I talk with folks who have been scammed. All right. And 2 weeks ago, one of my partners and I were online and learning about a situation where someone a year ago had computer problems, and then the computer was serviced remotely by someone in overseas, probably the Middle East or India or Ukraine, who knows, right? It could be Pakistan, it could be anywhere. They got this thing fixed, and then the next thing that happened was their traditional bank account, someone tried to draw money to the tune of 6 figures out of their regular bank account. And of course, the bank is there, they have a fraud department, they protect against that, and they blocked it. Well, fast forward to a month ago, their MetaMask wallet in their browser was hacked, and tens of thousands of dollars were stolen from the MetaMask wallet. And then following that, and again, I don't know why this person did not understand security 101, right? So the next thing that they did was they had all their coins on Coinbase in a classic exchange. And this thief went in, obviously they have full control of her computer. They went in and they drained her exchange wallet, 65,000. So total over 100,000 gone, right? And this and she's sitting there watching her computer. I mean, the Coinbase is offline, so even if she's sleeping and her computer's off, it's gone. But she was there when she was using her computer when the MetaMask wallet was being tampered with live. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, the person sent her a message and said, "Happy birthday." Just to show you, again, the sophistication here. And that's why anything connected to your regular computer, don't trust it. And that's why the Tails OS, you know, and again, I can't emphasize this more, you know, I don't have any of my private equity clients, none of them, the royal families, none of them would ever tolerate anything like that. No ledgers, no anything. They do paper wallets, they inscribe their private keys, and they lock it in a vault. That's best practice. That's best practice, you know, because right now, you know, they have armed security to manage their gold reserves. And, you know, without getting into detail, next year there's going to be a macro event that is going to threaten gold prices. And as that happens, you're going to see the rush to Bitcoin, because even what is called a safe harbor asset like AU or gold is not going to be as safe as they thought it was, you know. And again, I give glory to God for, you know, allowing me to have knowledge and wisdom. But what I'm sharing with you is we have some rocky days ahead. Before this thing is smooth sailing, we have some rocky days ahead. So keep your safe, Yvette. Thank you for spending some time with me, and reach out to me if you need anything. I'm here.
Definitely, and thank you for taking that time and space and sharing with me. I have done some writing and taking some screenshots, so I will go and do some due diligence on the matter that you've given me. And
no problem. I'm going to also send you the link to the recording, so you'll have this, so you can replay it if
fantastic.
you need to. Of course.
I appreciate you. Well, have a lovely weekend, the rest of it.
You too.
And
take care.
I'll catch you on Clubhouse UK, or is it? Okay. Thank you,
You will.
Houghton.
Take care.
Okay. God bless you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. God bless you as well.